Hello, hello, keep singing members. It is great to see you. Once again, the posted, first, I am so sorry. The posted Zoom link did not work again. I just tried to initiate that meeting. I am very sorry. I sent out an emergency 911 Zoom link. I hope you got it, and I hope people will be trickling in today. We have had one, I'm just going to check my voicemail. I'm sorry, not my voicemail, my email to see if there are any other. Okay, yeah, good. So that one came out, and or rather, the link that I just sent out as the emergency link, it came, uh, and I just need to set that up. Also in our discussion, I'm going to put, okay, February 13th, new link. Okay. Didn't work. Solve that this week. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Good morning, Stuart. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so glad you apparently got the link. So I've now posted it in two different places and am hoping that others will trickle in and join us. Yay! So glad you got that link. And I apologize for the weirdness with the links. I don't know why they're not working, but I'm just going to check to make sure. Stuart, I did get your question. I'm just going to make sure that nobody sent one in just now. Oh, no, it's telling me I don't have access to my own Gmail account. All right, good times. You know, love-hate relationship with technology. It's so wonderful when it works. Such a hassle when it doesn't. Uh, Alrighty. Okay, so today's topic is, or at least I've had one question. It might take up the whole time because there's a lot of different ways that I can address the answer. So Stuart sent in the question, how do I get better, richer, fuller, low notes? And Stuart, thumbs up. Is that about the long and short of it? Better,
Yeah,
richer, full, low notes. Okay.
yeah.
All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and mute you because I'm going to go into it. And let's see. So I have done a little bit of collecting of some reasons why some our low notes may not be very good, very listenable. They may not be very full. All the things might be too thin, might be too wonky sounding. So I've got some things to describe, and I've got some solutions. So let me minimize a few things here on my desktop so I can focus on what we're doing. Alrighty. So one of the let's address first the whole voice. So I'll state up front that to get a better low voice, same is true for the high voice. Your higher range notes, your lower range notes, but to be fair, Stuart, you're probably aware of this, and many of us are probably aware of this. A lot of people just focus, we fixate on the high notes. We fixate on getting better high notes. But it is an excellent question. Uh, what about the wimpy low notes? Okay. So, because I used to have very wimpy low notes, I had to work, especially as a young soprano singing. Um, and back when I sang classical, you really didn't have to worry too much about the lowest end of your range because in classical singing, you basically just sing more or less in your tessitura, which means the kind of the ideal range for that voice part, and you're kind of more kind of locked into that voice part, at least in terms of placement in. I did light opera as a semi-professional and did music theater. So you're cast into a role with a certain range, and your voice type either fits it or doesn't. And if it doesn't fit one part, they're going to cast you for another part, or they're not going to cast you at all. Um, so when I wanted to do more, especially wanting to move into more contemporary singing, I really needed to work on my low notes. And so, but I had a very wimpy low sound and couldn't get, it wasn't very robust. Uh, I didn't know how to get out of my head voice, didn't know how to use my full range very effectively, and certainly didn't know how to go back and forth between my upper and lower range. So I did a ton of study and a ton of work. So in order to improve any particular area of your voice, you want to work on your whole voice. So let's just put that out there. That's rule one, right? And let me go ahead and pin me because I'm going to be doing a lot of gesturing and all kinds of business. I'm going to pin me. Okay. So, by the way, I like your singing studio there. Pretty good. Okay. So, all right. So work on your whole voice. Work those upper range, your upper range, work your lower range. Um, there's kind of some general concerns that we'll look at too, like just the weak voice in general can be caused by a number of factors. And I am reading. I made notes for myself because I can just start talking and talk and talk and talk about this, that, and the other and get off track. So I'm going to try to stay with my notes. Um, One of the things, both for the general voice and for low voice in particular, is you can have not enough support. All right, so we'll get to a whole thing about breath support and what it means. I talked last in week one of this month about the whole respiratory system and what is happening with inhale and exhale, and that's a lead in to, okay, well, how do we learn to develop our whole breath support as a system, and and then we will also get to, like, okay, well, how does that impact your phonation or your singing, the production of sound, and what does it mean to have good breath support, and how do you put that with your voice? And a lot of breath support, there's so much different nomenclature out there. You could think of it also in terms of breath management, because there is a balance between the pressure that you build up from below by your diaphragmatic movement supporting the airflow through the larynx, and there's a backflow. There is that kind of evens out the pressure. But there's when singing and phonating, there is a balanced approach to your airflow and your breath support that creates a vibrant sound and creates an appropriate amount of vocal intensity, because nobody wants to listen to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, but they might want to listen to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, which gives what I did there in the first set was I just sang it. There wasn't a lot of attention to my rib cage support, to my diaphragmatic support. The second time, there was an attention to what I'm calling backflow, a little bit of backflow of air from this direction on the larynx, the pressure from the diaphragm from this side of the larynx, and creating a relaxed what is called speech level approach, or a very stable larynx, an approach to doing that simple scale that creates a much more enticing sound and a much more supported sound. And same goes for going low. So let's say I want to do a scale that takes me lower. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now that is the rock bottom for me. That's, if I go any lower than that, it's pretty hideous sounding. My voice literally says, nope, you can't go any further than that. Not with any type of decent sound. But when I go down, if I just want to sing it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, which is fine, it's fine. But if I apply a little bit better just thinking about my vocal support, thinking about that breath management, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So I'm giving a little bit of attention to the insides of my mouth, to my lips, and to my breath support. And we're going to talk about all that today, which gives it just a little bit more color and excitement and a little bit of intensity without being louder, without pushing anything, without forcing my larynx in any direction, just letting it all happen, but providing certain types of structural supports that create that intense and more interesting sound. All right, so let's talk about a few more general things. Sometimes, oh, and here comes Terry, yay, okay. Let me let her in. And welcome, Terry. Good to have you. I'm gonna just make sure you're muted, and we're gonna just continue. All right. So when you are thinking about the whole voice again, you want to think about energy. You want to have energy in your body. You just nobody wants to listen to a singer who has no energy. There's no no enthusiasm to their own approach to their own sound. So you want to have energy in the body, but that doesn't necessarily just mean that you're hyperactive, right? What I mean is an intensity and energy on your voice, and intensity with your vowels, and even a little bit of urgency in the message. So an urgency in your message when you are communicating anything. You communicate when you have a conversation with somebody. You are communicating to transfer meaning, not just to say words. You know, even if you're asking a child or a spouse or whatever to please wash the dishes. Please wash the dishes. Please, would you? It's been 5 weeks. You're thinking to yourself, would you please wash the dishes? Like, wash the dishes. Wash the dishes. There's wash them as opposed to don't just, wash them, don't just let them sit there. So there's ways that you're communicating, and anytime you think about what you're saying, you're going to automatically inject a little bit more vocal intensity in what's coming across. And that's going to affect the intensity of the vowels and the urgency of the message. Again, doesn't mean that you are being louder. It doesn't mean that you're squeezing your throat, but you are intently speaking something into song. And this gives this type of intensity, and even just the thought of what you're communicating, it autonomically, it provides for a better vocal fold closure. So there are times when I will talk about things, and I will talk around things, and I will describe things, but there are ultimately anatomical reasons why the things that I'm describing improve the voice. And that's one of those cases where I say, I want, think about the communication, whatever it is you're trying to communicate, and that's going to bring the intensity. But what's happening is you are providing certain structures in your body and your mouth, and that automatically you kind of, you don't really make it happen. It happens because you're doing these other things. Your vocal folds close with better closure. Um, all right, so let me keep moving on because I can really nerd out on this stuff. Okay, there can be, and this really absolutely applies to low voice, but the entire voice in general. If you don't have enough intensity in your larynx now, in your throat. Now, I've got to be really clear. Intensity and tightness are not the same thing.
Hey,
So, yes,
can I ask a quick question?
absolutely.
I don't know why this happened, but I only see the other person. I guess that Carrie. Hi, Carrie. I only see her on video. I don't even see you at all.
Oh, you don't see me. Oh, are you on a phone?
Yes.
Okay, uh, swipe right.
Okay, now I see all of us.
Okay,
Okay.
and if you swipe one more time, you'll see who's pinned, and I should be pinned. And you can choose whatever view you want. Um,
Okay.
you
This is
just
fine.
okay.
And
All right. I'm
my
glad
my
you interrupted.
yeah, my
Anytime.
question real quick is I can hit low notes. I've 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 sung in a lot of uh quartets and I have a pretty deep range, but with a quartet, you've got a microphone shoved down your throat. So they can hear those low notes. But in a choir, I I can hit the low notes, but I don't know that they're even being heard
Mm,
because I don't have a lot of volume behind it. And I think that's the natural order of the voice anyway. When I have to hit a higher range, I'm loud and I can knock it out. I don't know how much control I have over the note, but so that's kind of where I was going at with that. And I'm picturing myself in my choir, Brandon Baptist,
yes.
and some of those low range notes. I hit them usually without a lot of trouble. I just don't know. I want them to be louder.
Right. Okay. We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna get to the. Hopefully, some of the stuff I say today is going to help you do that.
Okay.
All
All right.
right. Now, yeah, and you can go ahead and mute yourself. But I will say this. Like, I talked about my own voice. There is a lower limit to everyone's voice. There's just like there's an upper limit, there's a lower limit. Can we always be working to develop those? Yes. So you need to ask yourself first, like, is this a note that I can actually reach? and before it turns into the big gravel pit, right? And and if it is, great. So what I think I hear you saying is these are notes that you can produce, but you can't get the volume you would like to have. Okay. All right. So yes, because I wanted to distinguish between notes that we can't actually reach, but we're trying to reach, because I know in the case of basses, there might be times when you're asked to sing, you know, a note that's just like the basso profundo down in the basement thing, and just not everybody's got that voice. And so if there's a note first, can you physically sing it? Okay, if you can physically sing it, then without pain, then you can usually improve it. All right, so we're getting there. Don't worry. I wanted to address some of the major, kind of overall concerns. Um, so, all right. Uh, One of the things that we tend to do, and I don't remember exactly what I was talking about before we fixed Stuart's phone. the but we were talking about intensity in the throat and the vocal folds. So good tension. You don't want floppiness and just a lack of support in. We've talked about energy in the body and support to the vocal folds. All right. Okay. Now, this may or may not help in your what you're asking, Stuart, but let me address it anyway. It will certainly help women, but it might help some men too. So there can be the case of where you're too heady in your voice and you're bringing your head voice down into your chest. I don't think this is your particular question, but let me address it really quick. If I'm singing up here and I try to go down, 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 and I'm still maintaining my posture for my head voice, of course I'm not going to get any power down there. It's going to get smaller and wimpier and just sound bad, especially depending on what you're singing, whether it's choral music or a contemporary solo or something like that. So there's a term that was coined by a guy named Seth Riggs, but used way before him. He just published that. Um, um, he calls it transfer of resonance. That just means that you're allowing your resonance to shift from different places in your body to other places in your body. In your head voice, things typically they resonate up here. In your chest or speaking type range, it's here. In your lower notes, it's going to be resonating. You're going to feel the rumbliness and feel the focus of sound down here. And that is just where your voice is resonating the most based on the position of your larynx and how your larynx is tilted and how it's thinned, thickened, and what position it's in at that time. So it's going to send the resonance to different parts of your body. So if you are in a certain laryngeal position, and you're trying to keep your resonance in one of the areas that doesn't work for the range you're singing, you have to let the resonance transfer. And you need to practice that up and down your range. So that, and that used to be my problem, not letting myself go into my chest voice or lower range, again, nomenclature issues, like just in your lower range, which is where the resonance is primarily happening down there. All right. So I'm going to guess, Stuart, in particular, since Stuart has sent in this question, I'm going to guess that you probably aren't having vocal fold closure problems because when you are, well, Stuart, do you want to sing me some low notes? You may or may not be warmed up right now, but just like sing me a couple of low notes, and I'm going to unpin myself and put you on there. And if you don't mind, put you in the hot seat for just a second. And just sing me some low notes and so I can see what you're doing and how it sounds. Hold on, Leah, let me unmute. It's just telling me to ask you to unmute, but I think there you
Yes.
go. There you are. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Down to like E flat. All right. So now, can you do the same thing on ah? Just kind of just go. Let's go from hold on, left hand. Hold on. Let's make this a little
Oh.
Okay, so I hear something that you're doing, which is there's a little tiny laryngeal manipulation that you're doing, which is very common for basses who are trying to go, anybody in there who's trying to go lower in their voice. And it's a slight, almost like crunching of the larynx. You're not pushing it down. That's a really common thing for basses. They're, and they try to, but I hear it being compressed a little bit. Something you're going to want to try to do is let it go. Just you don't want to sing in any manner that is different from how you speak in terms of your larynx position. You want, however you speak, that's how you want to sing too in terms of your larynx position. You don't want to lower your larynx. You don't want to raise your larynx, raise it. Um, and a real Kermit the Frog here is a really high raised larynx. The that is a lowered larynx. So you're doing something that's kind of just a teeny bit of that lower larynx, but not terribly. But I do hear it being a little bit compressed. So you want to try to release it and let that go. Now I know I asked you to sing off the cuff with no, warming up and no nothing. So, but that's just something to think about as you sing. No manipulation, don't push, and let it be what's called open throat singing. Just everything in terms of your larynx, completely relaxed. Let's do the same thing, but on E. E. Okay. Okay. And I didn't hear any squeezing in there. So that was real open. Could you tell a difference on that bottom note?
Yeah, but I can tell a difference with different vowels.
Before.
You
Anyway.
know, I yeah, different vowel sounds are easier and some are harder to go lower. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes. Well, now E is the most horizontal vowel. It is typically the hardest one to get your highest highs on your lowest lows. So the fact that you were able to go to the same place with your E is really great. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard you sing before today. I've only seen you in the choir. But the fact that you were able to do the same note. Now, there wasn't the same exact power, and part of that is because the voice is the tongue is spread, the cheeks get a little bit spread. So let's try to do this. Let's use the same E, because what the E does is gives a little bit of intensity. We're not going to have you sing E this time. We're going to have you give a little bit of shape to your mouth where you're doing a little bit of what I call fishy lips. Okay, okay. A little bit of that gives a little bit of structure and definition to the cheeks and the lips. And you're going to give a little bit of E to your tongue, but you're going to try to hit that again. Okay, so ah. You're giving a little bit of structure and definition to what's going on in there, and giving a little, but the tongue with a little bit of E in there gives it ping and a little bit of intensity and perhaps a little bit more volume. Try it out.
Okay. Oh, oh, oh.
There's that one. Good. Now, one thing I see, and this is applicable to all singers, is I see your tongue moving around a lot in your mouth. And this, I didn't even think about addressing the tongue, but let's address it. So one thing you want to do is not let your tongue go around and do whatever it wants in the mouth. The tongue will do whatever the heck it wants to do. So what we want to do is train our tongue to stay. People are going to tell you all different kinds of things about the tongue. Okay, I've studied under people that said don't do anything about it. I've studied people who said flatten your tongue, raise your tongue, keep the tip here, don't worry about the tip, whatever. So I'm going to just tell you with all that those pedagogical differences, what I've landed on is kind of a mixture of all those. to have to train the tongue to do what you want. Keep the tip of your tongue at the base of your bottom teeth, or like just kind of like more or less kind of glued to the bottom teeth, and not letting it creep back in your mouth. That's the biggest thing. Don't worry about raising it, lowering it, flattening it, blah, blah, blah. Um, just try to keep the tip behind your bottom teeth. Ah, ah, ah. And again, that's really low for me. But let's hear you try to do that again, just trying to keep the tip of your tongue at the bottom of your teeth.
Oh, oh.
Good. Good. And one of the things is that when our tongue goes back in our mouth, the tongue actually is, it attaches back here, which you probably already know. It's it can be um, a little bit of a hindrance to the larynx doing what it wants to do, because it just wants to just go back there and kind of like clump up. So we're just keeping it forward a little bit, which can help your larynx be able to release your larynx to be able to do what it is you're trying to achieve. So that was a slightly clearer sound from this perspective. And we're not talking, like this and like, oh my word, you're ready for the Met tomorrow. But it's like, I could hear a little bit of a difference, and when you go back and listen to the recording, you might be able to hear that little bit of a difference, of a little bit of a less restriction, which can potentially help you with getting the more volume. Okay, so let's go back to, I'm going to go ahead and mute you and put myself back on pin because we're going to run out of time. And I want to address some of that volume piece a little bit more, some more general volume stuff. Speaker. All right. Oh, it's pin me. Pin. Move pin. There we go. Okay. All right. So we have talked about energy. We have talked about a stable larynx. We've talked about the way I put it with your larynx is, if you wouldn't talk to your friends like this, don't sing like that. If you wouldn't talk to your friends like this, don't sing like that either. So we tend to push down to get those low notes. Don't do it. Let's see. Now, one other thing, and I didn't hear this with you, Stuart, but it can be a general issue in terms of getting volume and a little more power in lower range, is too much air. If there's too much breathiness, that's showing vocal fold closure isn't happening quite as well as we want it to. And so we want to just kind of help the vocal folds to close a little bit better. So here's an example of the low notes. Let me get that. So again, that's my basement. But you could probably hear there's a lot of excess air, and that's not helping me get much power. So I'm going to counterbalance that by doing a few little things that I call the squeaky door exercise. And I'm taking my vocal folds, acting like a little squeaky door hinge, and I'm taking my vocal folds and I'm just doing a little bit of a hard edge and just reminding them, hey, go here, go here. I want you to close the whole way, because when you are too breathy, it just means you're not getting vocal fold closure the whole way. That's all that means. And there's not a problem with having vocal fold, having a breathy voice, as long as it's something that you can control. If you are doing it on purpose, that's one thing. If you're not doing it on purpose, you need to train your vocal folds to close. All right. But we're not jamming the vocal fold. And in fact, that leads me to the next one. If you have too tight of a larynx, then again, that can hinder you. And we talked about the compressed larynx a few minutes ago. That can hinder the larynx from doing its function. And you want to strive for a relaxed speech type singing. And that's called open throat singing, and some circles, speech level singing in other circles, and you just want it to be real open and relaxed to let the larynx do its job. Something we've talked about today in various ways is focusing the vowels. We want to put a little bit of ping into it, a little bit of an intensity. I've talked about thinking about communicating what it is you're doing, not just singing notes. What are you saying? What are you communicating? That can automatically cause the voice and all your vocal apparatus to respond. There's one pedagogue who just said, we ask our voice to do something for us. I know that might sound a little woo, but it's not. It really isn't. There's all kinds of science behind us thinking what it is we want to communicate, what it is we want to do, and then we actively do it, and the voice responds and provides it to us. And it sounds weird, but it works, and I want you to try it. Don't poo-poo anything I suggest. Try it first. My dad used to say about our food, don't knock it till you try it. Let's see. Okay, let me give you 2 exercises. There's more I could give, and there's more I'll put, in various things, but there's because we can talk about messa di voce, which is like it like swelling the voice, like being able to control quiet to loud to quiet and stuff like that. So many things, so little time. But these, I took these from Victoria, whose last name I can't think of right now, but she is a pedagogue and just great at breaking things down, and I liked these 2. I also had a couple out of here that I love these vocal courses. Estelle Liebling, love them. They're old and they're fabulous. Sorry. Fabulous, still full of like 95%, 98% accurate stuff. Like she was ahead of her time in terms of the stuff she knew about the body and how the body functioned and laryngeal function. I love those. But let me take 2 from Victoria, and I'll get that last name later. All right, so we're going to do, to try to get a little bit more focus on our vowel and focused vowels, to give a little bit more intensity to the sound, and therefore hopefully provide a little bit more resonance and intensity to the voice in the low notes. 5 notes, and we're going to do it on beep, but we're not just going to go beep, beep. We're going to do beep, beep. So you want to, amberture is the term, but I try not to get into too many terminology wars. But the little bit more, a little less of just being all spread out and providing a little bit more structure. I did mention the fishy lips sound. Beep, beep, Estelle Liebling vocal course. Estelle Liebling vocal course. Oh my word, stop doing that. You hit a button on here, and there's different parts. Now, because this was written for classical voice, so it's narrowed by voice type. But because I tend to focus on the whole voice, I have like all of them, and I have so few students now that are just doing their one voice type, their tessitura voice type. So we use them as a jumping off place, and they're great. So now, but here's our beep exercise. So we're going to go a little bit narrower of a space and a little bit of structure with the lips and the cheeks. Beep, 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 beep. And even though we're just saying beep, I do want you to think communication of the sound. Like, I want you to think intensity like you're not lowering your voice to whisper, but I'm telling you something that's really amazing. Beep. All right. So beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. And when you get to that bottom one, beep. And for me, this is getting really low. Beep. But you want to strive for listening to your tone, trying to keep the tone as similar to the others as you can, and making sure you're not doing anything to hinder your larynx. Beep, 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 beep. Do one more for Stuart. Beep, 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 beep. That's really low for me, but good one for you. So, all right, and the next one is going to be the same exact pattern, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do it on me, me. And when we use the me, what that does is help us introduce a little bit of that ping, and it helps us to focus the vowel with the M, me, and you place that vowel right where you want it. It become very laser focused. What I like to there's sing singing is the only the voice is the only instrument that you can't hold out here and see it and see how it works. So a lot of what we do as voice teachers is take all the science that we know and the anatomy and stuff, and we try to describe to you what it is and how it's working and what's going on. But that me, it provides a place for you to focus and place the vowel. And I think what helps me a lot, may or may not help you, okay? And it's a little weird, but whatever, it helps me, is I imagine, and for volume and intensity and power, I imagine the note and the focus of sound as being out here in front of my face like a ball of light. And the more intensity I can give to it, the brighter that light becomes. And the more diffuse my voice gets, or the more I'm stuck in the wrong part of my, I'm in the wrong part of my voice for the wrong way I'm resonating, the weaker and dimmer that light becomes. And so I'm focused on that imaginary light as the focus of the note, and I want that note, the sound, to become as intense and bright as I can make it be, while maintaining all the things that I know, no manipulating my larynx, and trying to keep the structures and the things about breath management and all that stuff. Keep that all in mind and in body until I'm not thinking about those things anymore. But in practice, you are thinking about them and thinking about them and thinking about them. So you can use that little image if that helps you right now. So we're going to do me, and again, we're going to keep our aperture or the closure of our mouth a little bit, but with just because we're giving that structure of the little fishy lips, okay? And but while singing me. Me, 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 me. So let's do, we'll start here. Me, 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 me. Use that M to focus it. Me, 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 me. And I'll often go like this when I'm getting to the lowest notes for a person to show support that note, support that note, support that note. I'll otherwise usually be pointing like this to focus, send the tone, send the sound. And then when you get to the, hold that note there, like that's your prize note. You're holding it out. Again, weird thoughts, but hey, maybe it'll help somebody. Okay, now let's go down again. Me, 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 me. Hold that note. So those are two exercises that could hopefully help you. And you can work that same exercise up and down a little bit. And remember, practice your entire range, not just the particular area that you want to improve or that, yeah. Don't focus on the high notes to the exclusion of the low notes, or and for either high or low, work on your whole mid range, because there's so much of that you learn in focusing on the middle of your range, that helps you to learn to let go and to become more aware of what your larynx is doing. All right, and then let's see. Oh, and yes, again, so many things, so little time. But I'll try to make us a video soon on the about breath control and support. And next week we're going to continue our topic of breath support, and I'm going to teach you guys some exercises for beginning to isolate the diaphragm and support the breath. And then we may or may not have time to get into the adding phonation to that, and how to support, through, with the breath support technique that I'm teaching, and how to phonate with that and support well. Okay, so now that's all we have. We're way over time. Sorry about that. I hope this has been helpful. And yay, y'all are awesome. Appreciate y'all being here, and appreciate everybody. Okay, I want to tell everybody, log into your member area. Log into your member area. Use the what do you call those things? The journal entries. Do a weekly check-in, even if you choose one a week. They're not there to do every single check-in question every single week. It's pick one, do it. If you have not sent me your video yet of yourself singing, I think there's 2 videos you're supposed to send me. If you haven't filled out the questionnaire, go back to the welcome page in our member area and follow that link to the questionnaire and complete that questionnaire. That helps me so much, and it helps me help you. So there you go. All right. You guys take care. Keep singing.